Hello, my name's Elaine Marston. I'm very excited to be here at the SAA headquarters today, having lots of fun. I'm painting today a picture of a girl on the beach in oil paint. I'll be sharing with you some of the techniques I use and the materials as we go through it. So I'll jump right in and get started. I'm going to start in the back top area of the picture and kind of work down a bit just so I don't make too much of a mess. I'm starting with some Prussian blue. I've got some odorless terps in here. I'm just going to mix in some buff titanium just to dull that down a bit, and let's get some paint on. Add some titanium white just to lighten it up. And I'm not too worried about detail up here. This isn't my focal point. My focal point is the lovely girl on the beach in contemplation. So I'm going to keep things quite simple. A bit more paint. Mix it in. So I'm painting on a SAA canvas sheet of paper today, which I have covered in an acrylic wash, just like a neutral. I don't really like painting on white paper, it's a bit scary. So I like to paint on a bit of a colour. It's a bit like when you do pastel drawing, you pick a coloured background that goes with your picture, so that I can build up, you know, mid-tones, lights and darks. So I'm being a bit mean with my paint. I'm going to mix a little bit more. And I'm literally just scrubbing this in. I don't want it too runny so that it's like an ice ring. I'm not using any mediums. Pick up more paint. Try not to get your paint, a tiny bit of paint, to go too far. If it feels like it's an effort, you need to go back in and mix more paint. Right, so I'm going to add some white and some buff. Buff's a really good neutral colour, kind of for toning down. Add a bit more. I just want to lighten up. I don't know if you can see on the picture, it's lighter at this side. Just going to get that in. And I'm just blending it in. I want a soft kind of look. Hold my brush quite loosely. Then I'm going to come down. So I'm going to vary my colour slightly. I'm going to go to ultramarine. I've got quite a lot of blues here today. I particularly like, I'm using mainly De La Rowney oil paints, the Georgian range. 4 blues. I've got light blue, cerulean blue, ultramarine, Prussian, actually 5. I've got cerulean blue as well. And so I'm going to change as I come down, more white. And I come around this beautiful turquoise. I'm saving that till in a minute. That's my favourite colour. So, and I squint my eyes a lot when I'm painting. I'll probably need glasses one day because of it. Just to simplify. I'm not looking at detail at the moment. I'm purely looking to get my base colour on. And I'm using it quite thickly. I mean, some artists use quite a lot of liquid, do glazing and layers. I'm more get it done fast. Now, whatever I've got on this side, I've got this lighter side of her. I want that to carry on. I don't want it to suddenly stop and then not carry on. I want it to keep going through. So this is quite light, a bit of light blue, I think, and white. And this, I'm just going to literally get this in. You don't want it too thick at this stage. I'm just going to use this rag. So a bit more white, and I often use the same colour. So I use the colour, add a bit of paint onto the side of it, and a bit more. I often as well, when I put my paint on and make a judgment of whether it's the right colour. I don't keep painting and decorating if it's the wrong colour. I stop, make a judgment, remix. Coming through. Now this bit here is going to be kind of greeny colours. I'm using Atelier, I have to say it right. Atelier interactive brushes. I do use hog brushes as well, but I particularly like these. I really like their filberts, and they're quite for like more of a smoother look. So I'm looking to see if I want to put any more blue in whilst I've got it on my paintbrush. Have a look. Down here is actually a little bit more purpley, so I'm going to leave that bit. Now, okay, so I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to use the Winsor & Newton Artist Quality Cobalt Turquoise, which is my favourite colour. And I just added a tiny bit of terps actually into, it's a little bit stiffer than the Daily Rowney in terms of like creaminess. So I've just added a tiny bit of terps. I'm going to put it on. I completely underestimated how much white paint I would need. Just going to squeeze a bit more in there. Okay, so it's quite a bright colour on its own. So I'm going to take a bit of that, pull that to the side, add more white, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of buff. It's got quite a lot on my brush still. Big bold mixing. Let's try that. That's a bit better. We want to get this lovely contrast of sea colours. There's nothing quite like all the beautiful colours. Now I've got a dark blue bit in that section. I must put that bit in. Take another bit. Back to the turquoise. Now I can always fiddle and put more in a minute, but I really want to get this covered because we have quite a short amount of time. Just filling in there. So I'm just squinting my eyes. So now we go down into kind of a pale greeny bit. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm using a number 4 filbert being the curved edge ones. And let's have a look. So I'm going to take some cobalt turquoise and a little bit of raw sienna and a bit of ultramarine to make it darker. And I'm just going to put in, so I don't lose them, some of these darker bits. So basically as the wave comes over, you've got a dark bit on the top and a white bit that kind of just hits. Just getting those bits in. Now I've got that green on my brush. I'm going to take some white and I'm going to add some yellow. So that I want it to blend in the colour. I don't want, it's part of the same family, so to speak. So we're going to put a bit on, see what we think. Need to go a lot lighter, but actually whilst I've got that on my brush. So more white and a touch of Naples yellow. So often if you lighten a colour with white, it's going to make it a colder colour. So I use Naples yellow and buff a lot, especially Naples yellows, to make things warmer. More white, more Naples yellow. Be bold. Okay, now it's not going to show up completely yet because whatever is next to it affects the colour. So we've got this strong yellow, orangey background colour, sandy colour. So at the moment this green, until I get this purpley colour underneath, is not going to read right. So whatever is next to your colour, I'm not going to put in, there's a big wave over here, but that's not my focal point. The bit that excites me is the girl and the water. A lot of my paintings are different types of water, and I'm going to blend a little bit of that in. And then I'm going to go to, so we need to make more of that, but not at the moment. So clean my brush. So I'm going now, so we've been using a lot of cobalt turquoise, I'm going to cobalt violet now. So a bit of, it's the artist quality one, beautiful colour, and white, and a tiny bit of blue. A little bit too much blue, I think, but until I change it, I'm going to try it on here. So actually this is quite beautiful colours on the picture. We're going from these dark blues to turquoises. But I'm not focusing on my detail yet. I'm literally trying to get a foundation base coat. We want to go right up to the edge of the girl. We don't want a halo around there. So that's going to come out a bit more there. Get rid of that wave. And then we're actually going to go into, so I'm looking at on her. Oh, I didn't say earlier actually. I drew her out by hand last night with the terp seed, so burnt umber with a lot of terps and a fine brush, just sketched her in just because of time today. So I'm going to take some yellow ochre or raw sienna and a bit of, I think it's brilliant red, but it's the brilliant red, the Winsor & Newton artist paint, and then lots of white. So we're trying to get, there's a difference between the colour on the beach and the colour where the waves and the water is coming up. So I'm going to mix colour and I'm going to put it on. And I'm going to judge it. I'm going to make it a little bit more white, and I'm going to add a little bit of Naples yellow just to kind of warm it up slightly. Let's get this up. More paint. Don't make that little bit of paint go too far. And carry that on, continue it behind her. And off, a little bit of turquoise still on my brush, but that's okay by me. So we're building out, it's a bit of a patchwork, isn't it? A patchwork of colours that I've still got on my palette that I can go back and pick up at any time. Let's have a look down here. So I'm squinting my eyes. I'm judging what colour for the bottom bit. So I'm going to take some raw sienna or yellow ochre and some white. Now I know that that's going to be too yellowy. We need to add, I'm going to add a bit of burnt sienna. That may be too much, and a load of white. So we get a warmer kind of beach colour, but we want it to be different from here. Maybe a bit of Naples yellow and a tiny bit more burnt sienna. is it? So I'm trying to judge it. Is there enough difference? I don't quite think so. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So that's a bit more burnt sienna. So I'm not looking to create a perfect, realistic impression. I'm making more of an impression. I don't want to put every pebble and so I'm very delicately putting my paint on. I'm literally scrubbing it in, getting this covered. I don't want a thick layer because it's going to fight me when I put my detail in. Okay, so we're nearly getting it covered. Let's just going to have a look at this bit. What have we got in here? We've got quite a lot of the pale kind of greeny colour. Add a bit more white. In here. So I want to get that really exciting bit in here. So in between this turquoise bit, there is a lovely stripe of, I'm using a bit of the Prussian, but it could be ultramarine blue. Let's carry that on while I've got that on my brush. And then I've got some bits actually. So this bit that comes down into the hat is a lovely curve. There's a curve and it naturally pulls you into the subject matter. So you're looking for kind of feeds to make the painting more interesting for the viewer. And it also kind of shows the undulating motion of the water, the sea. So curving up, round, we're going to come down to the gal, make it a bit more exciting. We've got more here, pick the paint up, put it down, and I'm tickling the top. We've already got a colour underneath. If I work too much into that, you're just going to blend and blend and blend. And instead, I just kind of want to show that there's some texture. I quite like brush strokes and giving that kind of feeling. So I'm just going to fill that bit in a bit more. Okay. So I'm just having a think. So I think I'm going to go in and start working on her now, get her all in, and then we can come back and put some detail in the background. So I'm going to get my smaller brush and my number 2 velvet. So in the on the hat, so the hat was actually what really attracted me to this picture, the way that the light is hitting. So you've got this big strong contrast on the front of the hat and the back of the hat and the top of the hat. So I'm going to get that in. I don't want to lose that. So it's a warm colour because it's in the sunshine. So I'm going to use a Naples yellow and white. I have my trusty maul stick to, if I can lean somewhere, so that I don't rest my hand into the paint. So I'm really thick, so I'm putting that on so it's really nice and creamy like whipped cream. And on the back, mix a bit more. You have to excuse the state of my maul stick. It's been well loved. Paint all over it. A bit more white. So remember, this isn't going to look right until you've got the bit here next to it in. So, lovely light hitting the back, hitting the front, coming over the top. It's so much fun putting these bits in. Okay, clean the brush. So there were 2 colours on the hat. We've got a warmer tone, so it's more kind of yellowy colours, and then at the front there is more of a bluey colour. So I like to try and use some of the colours that I've already used in the palette, kind of tie it in a bit. So we had a purpley colour that we used in the water. So I'm going to put that on, and then I'm going to judge it. So I'm going to squint my eyes. I think it needs a bit more purple. So I'm going to add a bit more cobalt and a touch of burnt sienna, actually, just to, not that much. Some colours just completely take over. You try and put the tiniest amount in. Okay, let's try that. And bring it up. We've got a bit of a halo, so we'll going on. I've missed there, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's get this on. So then that gets more of a sandy colour. So actually we have some sandy type colours made up for the beach. Here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to get that in. Actually a bit of the light Naples yellow and white mixture as well, just to lift that slightly. Actually some of my drawings showing through in terms of the lines, I don't mind that. I'm going to add a little bit more. So burnt sienna and a bit of buff, just to kind of pull in a bit more burnt umber. Some of the detail on there. So this is a naught brush on the Atelier range. It's not the smallest brush I've ever used, but for this kind of impressionistic, I don't want a tiny bit. Okay, so it's quite, it's not blending at the moment, just to make sure I don't get my dress in. That light highlight, the Naples yellow and white, needs to come down. So it comes down just where the face is there. So I'm just going to get that in. We've got quite a gap there. So we need something that's going to tie these in here. I'm going to pick a bit of that up in my brush and just kind of blend that a bit. So there's a bit more shape. Right. So let's come down to the hair. There's a warmth at the back. I'm going to use some burnt sienna and burnt umber. Keep it quite simple. I'm going to clean my brush. Because this paint is on thick and quite wet, I can just pick, where this isn't going right up to the hat, I can just, if I've got a clean brush, just tickle that paint. So whatever's there to come next door. There we go. You don't always need to go back to the palette, you can use a bit of what you've got on there. So let's come down, so let's get this dark hair in. So burnt sienna, burnt umber. And then that, you'll see a difference now with the hat. So now the hat has something to contrast against it. Nice long hair that flicks out slightly, so that just makes it a little bit more interesting than just straight down. Bit more. Haven't quite got that light at the back. I use a bit of Naples and burnt sienna, just to show that contrast in the back. And actually I'm going to mess her hair up a bit of a flick bit because it's windy. Right, let's come down. We've got a lovely purple for the shirt. So I've got cobalt, that's a got a bit too much terps in for me. Cobalt violet, it's quite dry, that paint, that's why I had to put a bit of, if you look at the consistency, I do recommend that you try different brands if you're new to oil painting to get which consistency you like. Some are creamy. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of red. And a bit of white to make the kind of pinkier colour. Now I don't want it to be too kind of flat on the front so that it looks a bit boring. Now we've got a darker colour, some more cobalt violet and ultramarine just to, and I'm not doing it very delicately because I just want to get a bit of a movement, and so I've added a bit of pink, sorry, a bit of red and a bit of white to make a pink. And now there's a lovely light hitting the back of the shoulder, so I'm going to get that in a minute. So if you don't have the dark, you don't have the light. Going to get some more of that purple colour, a bit darker in this bit by the arm, exaggerate it slightly. Okay, let's have a look. Now we've got a dark shape that comes up here and then is the t-shirt kind of creasing as it comes down. And then we've got a light. So I'm going to take some of that light pink or pink that we had, add white and make it a light pink. I'm going to put a little bit on and judge it because I want it to be, if you want to make something look really sunny, then you have that strong contrast of tones. So I keep going back, filling my brush up, putting it on. It's going to my eyes. It's going to put a little bit more hair in her actually. Let's make it a bit wider and quite light. That's the beauty of oil. You can just keep fiddling. If you make a mistake, you can scrape it, wipe it off. Very forgiving. So let's have a look while we're up there. Let's do a flesh colour. So I'm going to take yellow ochre, some brilliant red, some white. It's quite, I don't know if you can see in the picture, it's quite a reddy kind of skin tone, so it's very difficult to come up with just one formula of what skin tone is because everybody has different colours. So when I'm preparing my canvas paper, I do another bit with sheets, and this can be really helpful so that you can mix your colours up and put them on the edge and then actually think, am I kind of close to where I should be or not be, because it's sometimes quite deceptive. So if I put that on, I think actually for the darker colour, maybe it's a bit bright, use a bit of burnt umber. So I want to really show that there's a darker skin tone at the front of this arm and down there. And then we've got this light, so a bit like the shoulder. So then once you've got something on, then you can start fiddling. So you can go spend as much time as you have got really. So let's put this light bit. So I'm not judging whether this is 100% right till I've got my light bit in. Now that needs to come up under where the t-shirt is. It goes kind of into the armpit. Squint my eyes, see what I think. Don't know if I like that. I'm going to use my finger. It's quite ready on the photo, and I don't think it's that ready in real life, so I'm being hesitant of whether I want to actually go that colour. So it's your painting, you have your choice of how you want to interpret it. So I'm going to go leave it. I often think if you can't make a decision, don't make it. So if you're not sure, go on to another bit. Go on to another bit, have a think about it, see how the next bit joins in with it. So got some different pinks and purples in the shorts. Putting an underneath bit. Then we've got some darker blue bits, kind of flowers. Maybe not that colour, a bit more cobalt. Cobalt violet. Just add a bit more purple. I just want to show that there's a contrast. Now, with the legs, I'm going to put a bit of that on. Now there's a darker shape at the front of the legs where there's a shadow. So remember, never judge your picture till it's completely finished, because it isn't till you get all the little tiny details in at the end that it starts coming alive. So when we get some of these dotty bits, clean my brush. So let's go back to the flesh colour. Let's add a bit of Naples yellow. I'm going to put a bit on. So I've got this darker colour, and then I'm blending what I have. I need to just bring in this lighter got blue there, and it's kind of pinky colours. Let's get rid of some of this colour around. And it won't be till I get, if I show you with a little bit of some light here, till you start getting in some detail, brush marks, you know, that will break up the picture a bit. Right, let's finish that leg off. So we've got this strong outline which shows the shape of the calf and the leg. So that tiny bit of light along the back and then, oh, wrong colour. It's fine, we can just wipe it off, it's easy as that. So I'm just going to make some more red. That's yellow. Too much red. So the second leg is actually at the back, and you can see a tiny bit of that. So it's kind of that glimpse will tell the viewer that there's two legs there. And with the feet. So it's just shapes. It's shapes of tone, whether something is light, medium or dark. It's what shape is next to it. And angles, I say try not to my students, try not to think about it being a face or a foot or a... Try and think of it in terms of angles and lines and shapes and colours and how they connect, how do they relate to each other. So this is quite blue, this, not that blue, a bit of cobalt violet. Kind of bluey purple. I don't like that, I'm going to take it off. So cobalt violet with some ultramarine and some burnt sienna. That's better. So much fun painting. You're in your own little world. Changing, so I'm varying the colour as I go down. There's like where the water hits the whiteness of the water edge hits it changes. So I put that on, needed it lighter, a bit lighter, so I stop, test it. A bit warmer. Okay, it's just a bit of a shape to say there's a shadow because there's a strong light. I'm not putting the rock in the background. Don't really like it. So don't think it's necessary for the picture. Trying to convey this girl contemplating, fascinated by the water. So let's have a review. We haven't got any paint actually on the, clean my brush, on the face, which is really, it's so ready in the picture. Add a bit of, not that red. And I look positively pasty next to this girl. I need a holiday with a suntan. So, going to go a bit darker here. Blend that in where that knee bit is. And then that darker bit will then let's get some more detail in the top. So I'm going to start now going back, looking from the top down what I can do to improve it, make it better. So when it's really sunny, we have these beautiful spots of light that hit the water. I'm just putting a few of them in. I've got quite a lot of blue paint because it's wet. So just clean it off. So it's immediately making, I'll move that out of the way before Gary tells me off.
Haha, nearly did.
So, can you see it makes it a lot sparklier. There's a darker bit. While I'm there, clean my brush. There's a bit there. I'm not worried about making it exactly the same. Clean my brush off, back to the white bits. What have we got over here? I haven't used any mediums or liquid, or I'm not going to wait for it to dry between layers. Kind of doing like a quite thick, impressionistic alla prima, get it done in an hour, or you get told off kind of process, especially if you haven't got a lot of time and place to put, you know, keep your paintings up. If you're doing it at home, you might want to do a quick painting and then put it away. So I'm now considering my detail, but I'm still using quite impressionistic brush strokes. So we've got a wave here. So there's a bit at the top and it rolls around. Another bit there. We've got a lighter green. I'm just going to put Naples yellow and white. Might need to go a bit darker green actually in the actual wave so that that bottom bit shows up a bit more. Some dark bits here. Giving movement, I do want to try and convey, don't know if I am yet, there's some movement and with my brush strokes that things are going on while she sat there thinking. A bit more white here, so really neat, I'm using neat titanium white. I want to show that kind of these are coming along and then the water's rippling over. That's a good word, rippling. And then it comes flat again. So this bit then is flat. So with a few brush strokes, I hope to convey kind of a movement or... Now down here, we've got this lovely wash. So nice and thick. So I might use a bit of, clean my brush. Clean my brush and Naples yellow. I'm just warming that up slightly. And I'm going to use it on the side, so quite relaxed and thick. I am picking up the paint. A bit more white. So when, you know, I'm not writing a letter, I'm trying to put some brush strokes on. I'm going to add a tiny bit of crimson in there, just to certain bits. And then this light is going to stand out really well then when it comes to next to this shadow. So this curves. Just got it on her leg, that's okay. We can just use my finger and just lift that out a bit. Go back in.
About 15 minutes left, Elaine, if you need it.
Okie dokie, thank you. So it's really up to you and your how much detail you like putting in. Haven't done anything on the beach yet. I'm going to make some of these a bit more continual. perhaps a few pinkied out bits. We need a little bit more, I think, under here, a bit darker. So that's kind of leading into her. Now I could paint every single pebble on the beach.
Go on. We've got 13 minutes.
4,336. So I'm actually looking with the pebbles at the shadow. So because it's sunny, you've got a light side and a dark side. So I'm just going to put in some pebbles, not all of them, like Gary would have. Because I'm just wanting to convey a texture. Well, I need to come back to, she hasn't got feet at the moment either.
They're more important than the pebbles, I think.
Do you think? You said I had to put them all in. And we're all really scared of Gary here, so we have to do what he says. Right, let's get the shadow underneath. So they're actually with the pebbles, and we've got a big pebble there. Clean my brush. A bit of Naples yellow and white. And if I was doing this at home, I would be spending a lot longer, I can assure you. But hopefully I will be conveying something. Not sure what. Let's get that flesh. So there's a slither, that's a good word, slither, of light here. If I can get that in between the feet. There. So you've got light back here, light here. So I'm literally looking at this in terms of shapes. So there's a shape there, we need a dark bit in there, we need a shape there, and lighter bit underneath. Just looking a bit flat-footed, we'll just take that up a bit. Need a darker. So we need a darker bit, darker than that. So I stop, change the colour, darker. That's all my students think I say is darker, darker. Get that darker bit in there. Okay, so we just want to define that this is actually the ankle bone. Too much to take it off, and I'm going to move it around a bit. So I'm to just show the texture a bit. I don't want it to fight with the water, which is the bit that is really exciting. The way that the laps and then carries on. Need a little bit more up here. But my favourite bit of the whole painting, actually, the bit that inspires me, is the hat. So I really want to put a little bit more light. So actually, if you haven't got too much of a point on your brush, I mix the paint and I roll it. I don't think a lot of artists do that, to kind of move the paint onto the tip. Nice and thick and creamy. So I'm just, because we're running out of time, just trying to highlight a few bits that I think are the most exciting. I think it's looking all right. Maybe a bit of light here. If I squint my eyes, there's kind of like, we've got this goldeny bit, but actually there's a bit of a pinky sandy colour back here. Perhaps it would be interesting to show a few of the rocks in like this curve.
All of them.
You can come and have a go if you want, fill them in.
About 5 minutes.
Okay. Don't want it to look too spotty, like it's got measles. And if in doubt, use your finger. Get rid of that greeny. So it's hard, normally I'm kind of stepping back from my picture to, it's hard when you're stuck in one place and Gary won't let you move, to be able to go to judge it. Poor Gary's getting a bad name today.
I get the blame for everything.
There's a bit of dark green actually there, whilst we're there. Just exaggerate that a little bit. I mean, there's so much more detail that you could put in this. You can go for a year if you wanted. A bit darker. Quite like it simple. And just exaggerate these curves a bit. Keep looking at it, deciding. And as they always say, it's hard to know when to stop, because you can go on forever. And you can ruin it if you're not careful as well. Overworking it, trying to perfect. Okay, I think I'm running out of time. So I would, if I was doing this at home, would put it up on the side and live with it for a bit. See what things that stand out to me too much, some bits that don't stand out, and have another fiddle with it in a few days till I was really happy with it. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing me paint in oil and that you've learnt something hopefully, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.